Welcome back to another episode of SaiOS. This podcast episode, hopefully you guys have been following along in this SaiOS series I started taking a look at for my quarterly circle, activities, going into my life operating system of SaiOS, and taking a look at my alignment zone dashboard and pyramid, kind of describing that piece of it, and then going deep into the aspirational level. So we're still within that section of the pyramid and looking at the reviews pieces of it. So hopefully I think this episode will be finishing up. So I've gone through the daily tracking database. I've gone through the weekly database, and then I've gone through the monthly database and all those review pages and templates associated with that. And so now obviously the next logical progression is from the month to the quarter. Hi. So from this, some little kids around here, so nice to see some action. Some people enjoying this beautiful weather out here. So this quarter, this is not very similar, but pretty similar to the monthly review process that I do. From the range of the dates for 3 months, then instead of the monthly theme, I'll have the quarterly ambition is the word that I use. So my Q2 ambition is to enhance content and set foundation for the long term. And I've outlined this before in previous episodes, but that's what I've been doing. That's my ambition, and I've set up my projects in a way that roll up to this ambition. And then I have quarterly effectiveness score, just like I do with the monthly and weekly effectiveness scores. And then I have all the roll-ups of the monthly themes, the monthly wins, the losses, what the monthly success looks like, all those, the improvements, the gratitude. So again, I get a higher level perspective on these different things. And so then again, I have fields that I fill in myself for the quarterly wins, for the quarterly losses, for the improvements, where I can aggregate and write out my own thoughts from those monthly ones. In Notion, you can't do a roll-up of a roll-up itself, but you can get around that by having the roll-up from one database to another, and then creating the text or the number field, and then writing it in yourself. You can copy and paste if you want, but I like writing my own and having the originality there instead of just copy paste from one to another. And so it actually works out because when you have 7 days in a week, you'll have 7 items in the weekly review that you're looking at. Right, so you'll have the gratitude, the improvements, the ideas, etc. for 7 days within the week. But if you just did the roll-up of the days to the monthly level, you'll have 30 entries, and that's too many. And especially if you do the quarter, that's going to be 90 entries. And if you did the whole year, that's 365. So that's way too many to aggregate and to synthesize and to wrap your head around. So to get around that, you do the daily to the weekly, which is 7, and then you write out 1 or 2 sentences for the fields that you fill in on the weekly template. And so when you have 4 weeks or 5 in the month, that's only 4 or 5 entries that you have to read through. That's manageable, just like 7 is manageable on a weekly basis when you're looking at the daily tracking entries. And then similarly, for the quarterly, you're only looking at 3 different entries for the 3 months that are in the quarter. And then likewise 4 entries for the 4 quarterly entries that roll up to the yearly. And so managing this and separating this is also a something that I found valuable and reasonable and logical, and really helps to not just summarize but really synthesize. Summarize, analyze, and synthesize what you've been working on, what your improvements are. If you see a theme within your gratitude statements or a theme within the improvements, that will be showing up in the weekly and monthly levels and on the weekly level, and then when you aggregate those on a monthly level, you'll be seeing those at the quarterly planning, which you can then address. And if there's some certain themes you can go deep into and look in those daily tracking databases for what those exact improvements were, if that's something of value to you. So didn't want to outline that piece of it right there. And then I have a project count field, which is just the number of projects that I'm doing for the quarter. So I'll dig into this, but at another episode. But for every project, I have which quarter it's tagged in. So I'll have all the projects, say Q2 2021, that I'm working on this quarter, or that I've planned to work on this quarter. And then I have the monthly effectiveness scores, the monthly statuses, the projects, like I said. And then it's related to the quarterly one is related to the monthly database, as well as the yearly one. So the 2 ones that are supporting it time period wise. And then I also have the quarterly level I have related to the affirmations, because this is when I will change my affirmations. I'll dig into that in the next episode or so. And then I've related to content as well, just to see what are the different pieces of content. I don't click into this too much, but just as a value I have, just to see all the different pieces of content that I can click out of and into. And then similar to the monthly review, I'll do a retro. So instead of doing the 4 questions, I'll just go straight into the retro style questions of the what went well, what didn't go well, etc. So I'll just choose one that I haven't done that month or quarter or year, ideally, so I can get a different perspective. And then for the quarter, like I said, in the quarterly circle one, I did a monologue retro where I just kind of talk out loud, record myself, note down any ideas. So in addition, just thinking silently in my mind, even though I'm out in nature or in my room, I can maybe have insights that when I'm talking, it seems more apparent than if it's just in my head. I'll be reviewing the vision board. So these are all check boxes that I can just check off as I'm doing them. So I can review the vision board, ask myself, am I on the way to being the person in this vision board? And I can make any adjustments. For this past quarterly review, I did not make any adjustments. We'll see if I iterate on that going forward. And then for process piece of it, I'm going to be reviewing the quarters. So I'm going to be reviewing the past quarters to see any changes, improvements, growth, accomplishments, etc. I'll be reviewing this is where I can potentially review, refine, and update the purpose, mission, values, since I'll be looking at even higher level compared to the monthly one. The last episode I did say monthly one was more of a mountaintop. This one is probably, quarterly one is probably a what is that, like Mount Everest? That's also mountaintop. We'll go with airplane. Right. This quarterly one is an airplane. 30,000 feet view of what you're working on, of what your purpose is, what your mission is, what your values are. And then I'll be reviewing the affirmations like I mentioned and going through the projects. And so this is where I finish out any project level upkeep or maintenance from the previous quarter, and then I'll start building out the different projects, or deciding which projects I want to bring in, looking at any projects that I've listed out or brainstormed and had the idea of that I knew I potentially wanted to get to, but didn't want to spend the time and energy building out within that quarter, within the day-to-day. But I want to take the time at this quarterly level to, yes, this project aligns with my purpose and mission and the yearly story that I have, right? So that's how I approach the projects from this perspective. And then once I've decided on those projects, I'll build out the action items. And then kind of to finish up on the quarterly level, I actually didn't do this, but I have it as a thing to review the thought vault. So I do have create a recurring task actually in one of my projects of admin to create or to go through my thought vault on a regular basis, because I've not really done that since starting Notion. So there's a lot of, I think, 100 thoughts just rolling around in that thought vault, thoughts and ideas that I have yet to really put any attention to. So we'll see what's in there at some point, but I've allocated the time, so I don't need to think about it right now. So that's my quarterly review right now. I'll actually go into my yearly review now as well. And actually, let me see. Yearly reviews. So the yearly one, I've not fully built out actually. Where's years? I'm going to do this live. Years. Okay, alignment zone, years. Let's go to 2021 here. So this is not fully built out. But so right now there's only 2 fields in it, and the rest is qualitative. It's not as quantitative, because you're just reviewing the quarterly things, quarterly fields, the aggregations, the roll-ups. So I'm just aligning what the yearly story is, creating what the yearly story is, and I have a relationship to the quarters. So nothing too much there on the fields itself. So what I built out, this is what I built out. Okay, actually let me go through this. What I built out, actually this is very different. So as a teaser, I'm going to do a separate episode on this because we're already at 13 minutes. I feel like this is going to go for another 15-20. So don't want to bore you guys too much and pack too much into one episode. So I'll stop here for now, and I'll do the next episode on the yearly review, and we'll be done with the review step, and with that, the aspirations level within the alignment pyramid of my SaiOS life operating system. So again, very granular look, but excited to share each of these components and pieces in detail. Till next time, thanks for listening to another episode of Sai's Eyes. I'll see you when I see you.